evening, everybody. Welcome back to Spirits and Ghost Stories. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens.
And I'm Carly Bird.
So we have a very special guest here. He was a part of one of the highest grossing or the highest viewed episodes actually on the channel, The Black Eyed Children. He actually recently saw the episode on his feed and he's like, you know, I need to come him back. He wants to come back here. And and here we are here. We can't have him in studio right now because he's serving this great nation in a foreign country of Ohio. But hopefully we'll do the next best thing. We'll have him here.
It does
Seth,
feel like
how you
that.
doing?
It is basically a third world country.
Seth, how you doing?
Not too bad. Like you were saying, I saw the video that we did almost a year ago. It just randomly popped up on my YouTube feed, and it was kind of hilarious to watch because throughout that entire episode, and the other one we did with Matt as well, we had that classic Spirits and Ghost Stories spooky music playing in the background, and then just talking about a ghost fingering you. Like, what is going on?
Context, yes. Oh, it was such a juxtaposition of like, yeah, it was just us. Whoever was talking, the other two were trying to just clip his legs.
Yeah.
This one person would be serious, and it was like bullshit, and you just clip him, snipe him every
great.
time.
My favorite part was the fact that Seth and Matt had to sit so close together, their elbows like kept bumping into each other, and it just got like.
We were doing that on purpose.
So cuddly.
It's kind of like playing footsie under the table, but just rubbing bows.
And huge shout out to Matt, who's about to get married, by the way. He was hilarious in that episode. I had to rewatch it just to get prepped for this. And it was just like, he touched my elbow. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. It was just like, there was one comment, I got to find it, where everyone was like, you literally need to do a show that's just you three doing something. And it really reminded me of like Two Bears, One Cave. Or like One Bear, Two Caves, whatever the fuck it's called. It's like, yeah.
Two Bears, One Cave.
Yes, we could make that work.
I don't want to cut Carly out. She was great in the background in those two episodes.
But you know what she reminds me of is the producers on Two Bears, One Cave. So like, I recently watched twice the Dylan episode with oh god damn it, his name slipped my mind. That's not good.
Is this with Tom Segura?
Yeah, Segura and Tim Dillon.
Okay.
Well, Two Bears, One Cave is Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Right. But yeah, they had Tim Dillon on as a guest.
They were talking about murder, and you hear the people in the background, the producers like, and that was you. Seth would say a joke, and you hear his voice in the background, and it made it.
The problem was the two episodes that we did before that, the three of us did like a little live session or whatever and got on the topic of animals. So throughout those two episodes that were actually recorded, which had nothing to do with animals, Carly's just screaming rhino in the background the whole time, which was like an inside joke to the live session, which most people didn't see.
Right.
So now we just
forgot about that.
Just look weird. We're like, again, trying to tell this scary story, and then we're talking about ghost fingering, and Carly's just yelling rhino in the background, and everyone's like, what the hell is going on?
Dude, it really made the vibe, though. The vibe was awesome.
It was. That's why I wanted to be on another episode again.
Yeah, and then this is actually, which is really cool, is Carly and I have been talking about this forever about doing more live streams. So if you guys don't know, the youngest born, because you call it the firstborn, so what do you call it? The youngest child? The youngest child fishing in the DMV is banging right now. It's doing extremely well. And like anything, when you have two children, the one that's successful gets all the attention. We know this. Come on, parents, don't lie. So it's been giving a lot of attention and money. And I want to make sure that I can take some of the things that worked at fishing in the DMV and bring it over here. So I want to do more interviews. And so there's actually a Loudoun County Ghost Hunters that just started about 3 or 4 months ago. I want to reach out to them, try to get them on the show.
There's somebody in Winchester, too.
And Winchester. So there's a lot of ghost people and paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
Fuck, that would be fun, guys, to get one of them on the show and just talk to them. So like, you hunt ghosts. How is that financially? Like how does that all work?
Let's talk about that. Is this a hobby? Is this a side hustle? Is this a full-time gig? What's going on here?
And I do want to do a live reaction to us like doing ghost things, because remember Tits McGee? Like that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Anyway, so my mother, hear me. So my mother, we took her to Gettysburg to do a ghost tour.
It was last fall.
Mom, I love you so much. And when you die, this is one of the stories I tell at your funeral. She wanted to wear a GoPro because she knew we were doing footage for Spirits and Ghost Stories.
Naturally.
And I was like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? She's like, yes. It's like, you know what? I love you. You're my mother. I appreciate that you're even here. And thank you for doing this. Are you sure you want to? Okay, cool. So we have a chest mount. At the time, she weighed a considerable amount. And I can say this in jokingly because
she's lost a shit ton of weight.
She's lost over 140 pounds.
Not 140.
She's lost over 100 pounds.
I think
That's
she's lost
awesome.
like 80 pounds. But
That's close to 100. I can round up to 100.
Fine.
The point, she's not she looks like a different human being.
Yeah.
At the time, she wasn't. Okay, she was very round. Right. She wore this chest strap, and it looked, when she wore this GoPro strap,
it looked cut in there.
It looked like bondage porn.
It was.
Her bosom was popping. So on top of having this cleavage that was digging into her, they had these divining rods. And these divining rods were to find ghosts. Well, she held it like this the whole night.
She held them up here, like nipple level. And they just kept doing this.
And every time you look at the camera at her, she had this extraordinary bosom. And then she had her rods. And then she was just like, she was poking people walking through this dark building.
They would move like this, and she would be like, "There's one over there!"
I'm crying.
You know, I don't want to knock her technique. Maybe it's the best way to go about it.
Sounds like
I would have loved to see it. It sounds like quite the sight.
We burnt the footage. But anyway, before we get into today's story, that makes me cry. Before we get into our day's story, we are drinking tonight. We're not really drinking because I'm actually on a cleanse. But this is an old bottle I found. It is.
You literally. Okay, I'm sorry.
I had 2 shots. What was left in the bottle. It wasn't a lot.
You drank that.
So this podcast is actually a lot like Two Bears in One Cave, because half the time Bert Kreischer is lying about drinking.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm on a cleanse." No, you just finished the bottle off before we came downstairs.
Yeah, and you're on an edible, so we're fine.
Whatever.
It could just be one of those liquid cleanses, and technically he wouldn't be breaking it.
Yeah, sure.
What's the name of the tequila?
Oh, is that why you handed it to me? Casamigos tequila. Yep.
I'm drinking, can't see, Propel.
Very nice.
And that gets us into our favorite segment, besides telling the story to everyone else. You want to do the intro? Because you always do the intro to this part.
Scary things in the news.
And because we have a special guest, we're going to do a doubleheader. So the first one on the list today. So we're going to be talking about the sub. So if you guys don't know, if you're not aware,
if you
like certain individuals in the room
live under a rock or lock yourself away in an office all day.
Okay, that's not an excuse for not being cultured. It's real. You literally have a phone. When you get out of there, you could be like, "Oh no, what is the whole world talking about right now? What is this?"
I didn't understand the memes. I didn't know what was
in
going on.
The age where we have so much information at, you about this?
It's like, oh, what is this 9/11 you speak of? I do not know these memes of buildings.
So are you going to finish telling me about this? Because I do want to know what's going on around the world and how many millionaires imploded.
All right, Seth, you tell it.
You have to link up. I mean, I can give you my memory of it, but yes, Carly. So basically a whole bunch of millionaires. Interesting ad we got there. Went on this trip down to explore the wreckage of the Titanic in these like little submarine vessels.
Okay.
I believe the company is Ocean Gate. It was Ocean Gate. To be fair to them, they've had a lot of successful dives. And Tommy, you'll have to fact check me throughout this, since again it's off memory.
I'm the
but
Jimmy.
Basically, I want to say it was like 5 or 6 people who paid to go on this excursion, $250,000 a piece, to essentially sit in an empty tank that is with like 2 monitors controlled by a guy holding like PlayStation control. I don't think it's actually a PlayStation controller. They said it is, but it looks a lot like one.
It's kind of
what?
Yeah.
And so they start the dive, and I want to say it's like around the 2-hour mark, maybe an hour and 45 minutes or so, they lose communication with the vessel. And they're like, well, that's not great.
They heard a noise.
Well, later, they lose communication. I forget how long of a trip diving down and coming up is supposed to be. It might say in the article as you're scrolling through, Tommy. But on the, range of several hours. So they lose communication at, like, again, the 2-hour mark, and obviously they have no idea what's going on. Like, what happened to the vessel as they're down there? So there's all this, like, sort of mystery and concern, obviously, like, what's going on with them. And the story's in the news for days. Like, for days they're talking about it. And they're even, I think it was CNN. I hate to laugh, like, it's horrible what happened. But CNN, I'm pretty sure, it might not have been CNN. I'm just spreading rumors at this point. Some news outlet had
This is Spirits and Ghost Stories, not Joe Rogan. There's 3 people that listen.
They're not going to care. Some news outlet actually had, like, a countdown for the number of hours of oxygen that they had left.
Stop it!
So, it's going on for a day or two. Like, I want to say they had somewhere on the range of 2 to 3 days worth of oxygen that they could survive with. And so all the news outlets are talking about this. They're like, oh, we're at, like, the 10-hour mark of oxygen, and at this point, we couldn't even rescue them. Like, they didn't have enough oxygen for us to go down with another vessel that would then be able to bring them back up, because it would take, like, 12 hours or whatever. So then they're talking about we can't communicate with them. We don't know what happened. Even if, let's say, miraculously they resurfaced, they got, up to the surface, all's good, they would still die due to lack of oxygen because the vessels are drilled shut from the outside.
Oh my god!
There's no way to open them from the inside. So, like, best case scenario for them would have been to float back to the surface. But hey, it's really hard to find things in the ocean. So let's hope they find them in time, because they can't get out.
Oh my god.
Now,
And
again,
I have the article that basically says what Seth is saying. Seth is basically...
I like it from Seth.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's 100%. She's doing a great job.
It's in the news for days, talking about what might have happened. Can we go rescue them? The Navy essentially heard a noise from, like, sonar and whatnot. They got a signal that they knew an implosion happened days before it was released that this happened, probably because they needed to confirm before you just throw it out there like, hey, they imploded, which obviously everyone was kind of like, that's a very good possibility. I mean, the vessel can only stay pressurized for so long, and the pressures at the depths they were at were just stupid high. So yeah, essentially they went down, lost communication, and then at some point, the vessel just smushed.
So could you explain, since she grew up in a cult and she was homeschooled, which is a double whammy, what does implosion mean? What happened to them?
So implosion is essentially the opposite of an explosion. You think of in an explosion, things go out. This is obviously things go in. It's a difference of pressure where you have greater pressure outside than inside. So, again, not sure how factual this is, but I believe there was some sort of leak in like the hull of the vessel. Which
regardless how, it's what happened. It was an implosion.
Regardless of how it was an implosion, but they believe there was like a leak that obviously then it loses its capability to stay pressurized, so that the vessel has an equal pressure pushing outward to keep the pressure from the water from doing what it ultimately ended up doing, which was just smushing the vessel in as flat as it can be, essentially.
So did they find the vessel?
So let me rephrase it. Vaporized.
A lot of people lost interest after they found out there would be no remains from getting smushed inside of this thing.
Oh, yeah, I just thought, if it imploded, that it would just float down there and just
Okay. Hold on a
it would
sec.
just
So
it would just float down
you think
there
like a
and
soda can, right?
yeah. And then
So-
it would just chill with the Titanic, right?
There would
She's
be.
picturing a Coca-Cola can just smash at the bottom with everybody inside still.
That's basically what it was.
Besides that, the heat of in
Yeah.
those tenths of milliseconds that it shrinks, the heat inside gets to be hotter than the surface of the sun.
Is that true, Seth?
It gets really hot. It would get hot that their remains would be vapor. Again, there would be essentially scraps.
Her eyes right now are so big, like holy shit.
Carly, just keep in mind what we talked about a few minutes ago before we started this up. They didn't know what happened to them. Well, obviously, they're terrified. They lose communication. They're stuck down there. But the act or the process of the implosion, they had no idea. So the amount of time it takes for like your eyes and essentially your whole optical system
And your nervous
register new information is about, I looked it out, it was like 10 to 13 milliseconds. The implosion under the pressures that they were under was like a fraction of a millisecond.
Oh.
So like they couldn't even register anything changing or
It's like
anything
they blinked.
happening. Faster than that. Faster than you blinking, it imploded. And
It's one of the best ways to actually go.
Yeah,
It is.
that's what I was thinking.
I mean, that's why I think all of our stray cats and dogs, that's what we need to do to them.
Implode them?
Yeah, that's how quick it is. It's better than euthanize. If you euthanize a dog, they're on a table, they're sitting there, and it's just a whole stressful thing. You take them down in a nice
I know, it takes a
submarine
while.
with some Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden, boom.
That's still scary for them.
Maybe. So that was the upbeat story of the evening. It's gonna get way worse, ladies and gentlemen. So
That was
I don't know. Will it
crazy.
get way worse? Because that was real.
That was real.
so is this next one, ladies and gentlemen.
It
So.
is.
Oh,
I
boy.
haven't. I am now allowed to share this with you guys because it's been over 2 months, and I know YouTube won't ding me for doing this like so many other channels. I'm going to show you the horrific last moments of this individual called Cameron Robertson. Cameron Robertson was on a cruise in the Bahamas.
Oh.
And so basically what happened in this story is he's 18 years old. And so he jumped off a ship. And there's a whole context for this. And this is what makes this story so cool to me is I have a wife, raise your hand, who went to the
Hello.
Bahamas. And she also went past this same ship
I saw the ship.
and got some information
And I
on
talked
this.
to a local about
And
it.
hold on. Let's build the suspense in the plot story.
My bad.
So this is how it goes down. I'm going to tell you frame by frame, day by day, how the story evolves. It's pretty intense. So before I even show you the video, it comes out that this individual, Cameron Robertson, jumped off a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean.
Not a cruise ship.
We're going to get there.
Sorry.
I'm going to tell you story by story how it happened. So the first, when this story leaked, it was he jumped off a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. And when he does this, there's some alleged information, and I'll show you the video about what happened next. That was the first part of the story. Then some information came out that it wasn't just a cruise ship. It was a pirate ship. It was a drinking ship because he was 18 and he just graduated high school with all his
party
friends.
boat.
And so he was drinking alcohol and stuff. But it was a pirate ship
It's a
that
party
was
boat.
out to sea. So now I'm going to play the video the first time and you can see what happened. Most people say, and what ended up happening is it was reported in the Bahamas that this individual just went missing at sea. So now, I'm going day by day how the story progressed. So I'm going to show this to you guys the first time. Again, I do have some kids that watch this show. I don't care necessarily about this channel if this thing gets dinged. So anyway, I'm going to show this video. I'm sorry to anyone else, but just like really be squeamish here. Here we go.
Anyone who has access to this video.
It doesn't. You can have access to a lot of videos.
Honestly, what kids are seeing on TikTok nowadays
It's
is
like-
probably far worse.
I know, but here we go. Ready?
Yes.
One more time.
Look at that. Look at that. Did you see that?
Stop. Gotta build suspense. I'm gonna add some more context next. So anyway, if you guys know me, I am very passionate about shark attacks.
I swear I heard the kids scream.
So anyway, so this is the footage that gets dropped. And so apparently a kid on this boat shoots this footage out, boom, and there's a missing person thing. The Bahamas send out Coast Guards and all that stuff to do it. They only are out there for like 24, 48 hours, and they call off the search immediately, said like he disappeared. We don't know what happened. So then they find out that, spoilers, they weren't out in the open sea. This thing is parked next to harbor.
It's docked there.
It's docked.
Right off the main island.
And so what ends up happening is this TikTok video gets over 100 million views in a week and is featured on the Joe Rogan show. Because if you look in the beginning, it looks like there's a shark immediately in the footage.
You see this whoosh in the
Seth,
water.
what did you see?
I'm blind as shit.
He's just
He's like, there's a lot of black.
I saw a kid in the water. I can't say I saw the shark.
You
So-
have to like
But,
zoom in and slow the video footage
Yeah,
down.
actually, we got.
I saw you sort of like, kind of. Well, I heard Carly like make a noise kind of early on.
Make a noise.
and you
When I
sort of
saw
skipped it, like, kind of early in the video, try to slow it down. But I would believe there's a shark.
Right, if you slowed it down in the beginning, you could see it, Tom.
I'm sure we'll get to it, but later in the story, like, did it find out, like, was he pushed or did he legit just, like, jump off?
So he was dared, and he did jump off. But the reason
damn.
he felt safe to jump off is because they were docked. They were just chilling right there. But I don't think what he realized, because I just recently went to the Bahamas and talked to a local about it.
Pause. Because this isn't what you have is you have inside juice. So anyway, what ends up
Burying the
happening?
lead.
No, because this is yeah, I'm burying it real hard. I'm dick teasing. So basically, and we're gonna get to this footage. There's a lot of debate about whether this was a shark, whether there's other stuff. Well, first off, the Bohemian authorities come out immediately, be like, by the way, it's tragic, drowning at sea. It happens. And that's where they leave the story. The problem is it's got on TikTok. If you take this video and you enhance the exposure and stuff, because the reason the water is so black is because it's so clear. As an angler and a guy that's been fishing his whole life and looking at satellite imagery, the cleaner the water looks, the blacker it'll look on exposure to a camera. The dirtier the water is, there's more light refraction. It'll show up white. So this is very clear water. The people that are screaming, just to understand, they can see into the water way better than we can and way better than the camera can. So first off there. So that's context. Another context. This was the only video that was ever published. The authorities confiscated all the phones on the boat. And so that's suspicious.
Paid people off.
Then there was some other allegations that there was people that were paid off by the Bohemian authorities. And it leads into what you said, because in the record books right now, this guy's missing at sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Carly, now you tell your part of
Well,
the story.
when I visited the Bahamas, I took a ferry from Paradise Island to Nassau. And on my way back, I got on this tiny little boat. This guy was like, hey, do you need a ride back to Paradise Island? And we were like, yes, please. He's like, if you got cash, you can get in my boat. So we got in his boat.
What, they don't have, like, an Uber app for boat rides?
No.
Come on, Bahamas, you gotta start that.
Real sketch. Literally real sketch. The only reason I got on that boat is because like 5 other people got on the boat too. And it was tiny.
Just making it easier for him. What do you mean?
There was only enough room for like 6 people on the boat, and we squeezed in there. He was making a killing that day. And so on our way back, we're passing this like pirate ship looking thing. And I'm thinking, I wonder if that's like the boat. And he's like, do you guys recognize that boat? He's like, it got real popular the past couple of months. He goes, that's the party ship that kid jumped off of. And he said it was docked right there, like right off the main island. He said that's why the kid got dared to jump off. They never found him. He said he got eaten by a shark. He straight up just told us he got eaten by a shark. They never found his clothes. They never found any parts of his body. Nothing. Like everything was gone. Never found him.
So this is one that has better exposure here. And we're going to play it again. This one I'm muting though, guys, just so it's not as I think graphic. And Seth, I don't even know if you can see the damn screen. Let's see.
I can see it.
All right, so here we go. So, and then
Just blow my own screen up.
there's some more context here too. The reason
Yeah,
he,
look, yeah.
So there's more context here. The reason he is swimming to the angle he's swimming at is because someone threw a life preserver that way. And then he swims in the exact opposite direction of the life preserver that was thrown to him.
Right.
So here we go. We're going to play it again. So it's a little bit enhanced. I don't know what all that crap is, but here comes the important part is right now. So right up in front of him here.
He sees it. It's right there.
Do you see the white?
Yep.
Yeah, like a tail or something broke the surface of the water.
And the reason I think there's validity to this, and marine biologists say it is, he stops dead in his tracks and goes the exact opposite way of the life
Right.
preserver.
He sees that. Look at him. He's like shocked. And then he just turns around and swims the opposite direction.
That's why initially when I saw him like swimming the other way, I was curious if there was like being a party ship. Obviously, it's not like a giant cruise ship, so I wasn't sure if they had like some sort of ladder or something on maybe the other end of the ship that he was swimming to. But no, it appears he was swimming away from something else.
And from my experience of just floating by that ship, there was like no way to get back on shore unless you were pulled up, like in the life.
Yeah.
So,
and there was no current. They said he was swept out to sea. There was not as much current as people said.
No, there wasn't. And I mean, unless it was extremely windy, but you didn't even hear the wind in the video. But what I'm trying to say is that the dock itself, like the pier, was like a solid 15 feet above the water surface. So there was no way he was like swimming to anywhere safe.
So allegedly, we're getting to the point here where they think that he got bit one time before he got drug off. I don't know if this one's going to show it. I've seen some more gruesome ones.
I thought you said there was only the one video that's come out.
It is, but it's just how people adjust the exposure. So basically what they do is you adjust the exposure so you can see into the water a little bit more, and you can see a shape come up to his ankle.
Oh my gosh, you can. You
Boom,
did not
right
see
there.
that in the first one. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then of course everyone on the ship is screaming, so you probably can't even hear his screams.
Right.
And then he looks at that, and this is the thing that really freaked me out is like, again, like everyone said, like when the guy, again, his friend's probably plastered, he's like, oh, bye-bye.
Right.
Like,
No,
is that
that's
your
so
friend,
awful.
or is that the guy that's like, that dude's a fucking prick, he slept with my girlfriend? Like, if we believe it is true that he probably did get consumed by a shark, are you drunk? Like, I don't know, like, to say
Yes,
bye-bye.
they were all
Okay.
wasted.
Yeah, I mean it's like a booze cruise type ship, but also I'm gonna put myself there. All right, I'm gonna
You
say
would
I'm
not
on
be like, Tom, see you, bitch.
Bye-bye.
I'm on the
He
ship.
got fucked.
Maybe he had a couple Bahama mamas, having a good time. Hey Tom, I triple dog dare you to jump because you can't say no to a triple dog dare. Very sorry for this kid in this situation.
Very sorry.
that happened. But you jump in, and I'm up top, and maybe not me, but someone next to me sees a shark come up swimming next to you. Bye, Tom. That's my last words to you. I'm not jumping in. I'm not a shark wrangler.
There's no saving him.
Dude, how creepy, though. Tim Dillon talked about this, too, by the way. And he's a little bit darker with this. But I'm going to paraphrase what he said here on his show. It's like, that is more terrifying than the sub, because think of those as you're jumping, you think you're going to be a badass. Yeah. As you're leaping into the water, you're thinking about, this is the story they're going to say at your wedding.
Right.
That Cameron is a fucking badass. You just married a psycho. Look, he jumped into sharks. Then you hit the water. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, at some point, reality hits you. What just happened? Like, you fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you're leaping, you think you're going to be a badass, you're 18, whatever. This is a cool prank. At some point, you hit that water. Reality's hitting in real quick of what happened. And now there's suspense, because if that was a shark you first saw, you're paddling towards that life-saving unit, and then you see a fin break. At some point in that incident, it hit him in his mind like, fuck. That
This is it.
is terrifying.
This is it.
Because remember, like in the video, and I sent it to Seth, you can watch it on your own time. He looks back at the camera one more time before he disappears. That is like, holy crap. That's why this thing went viral, is because all of it. He never said anything. It was just this calm terror of like, at some point he knew it was over.
See, that's what, like, compared to, say, like the story with the Ocean Gate. Like with Ocean Gate, you lose communication. So there's that, like, psychological terror of being in this literally tank that's drilled in from the outside for, potentially a couple hours. And you don't know what your fate is going to be. But then the actual fate is super quick. You don't even know it happened. Great. This one is like, you jump in, and within seconds, like, it's all fun and games.
He knew.
And immediately, you realize what your fate is. And that fate isn't as quick, and you have to go through it. Yeah, Shark Attack is just a horrible way to go.
And there's that other one I cannot show on YouTube, which is the guy that happened in Egypt where he was fully consumed by a tiger shark. It went all viral. I think God I haven't sent it to you. That it was filmed, the whole thing. The guy was completely consumed. They only have half his torso left. Luckily, they actually killed that shark.
So obviously, officially, like this story in the Bahamas, they're not officially saying it was a shark attack. They're saying lost to sea. Is there a stipulation as to what kind of shark it was?
Or they are thinking it's a bull shark. Probably a bull shark or a tiger shark, but I'm thinking it's a bull shark because that was also the same area, believe it or not. If you guys are a Shark Week fan, this guy called Nigel had his leg bitten off on Shark Week.
Nigel?
Yeah, so there's this big shark advocate who said, like, if I lower my heart rate, they won't hurt me. And so he would sit in the water with all of them.
Is that how he said it, Tom?
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, and then he had like half of his calf removed in front of him.
Oh, the calf.
This was the same area. Yeah, you guys went on vacation to a place where like seven people have died.
Okay. No, for real. Like this year, I was just about to say that. Like this year, I've been planning on going to the Bahamas since like last fall when I got the wedding invite. And I was like, okay. So I just been like paying attention to the news in the Bahamas and everything, trying to like research things.
But you didn't know about the goddamn submarine?
No, I didn't. Where was that? Where's the Titanic? In the water.
I think we should move on.
What I'm trying to get at is that during my observant research, I've noticed that there's been a lot of people dying from shark attacks in the Bahamas or losing limbs. And like this one woman, she was a school teacher, just went on like a scuba diving excursion, paid a couple $100s to go to an excursion on vacation, died, shark attack, dead, gone. And that was probably like the story that was just like helped me decide that I would not be going on any scuba diving excursions.
Yeah, and it's a microcosm for this is basically, this is a whole different tangent, but anyway, like with Joe Rogan, and he talked about this on his show, where you had farmers in this Colorado area that have lived there like for generations. People with wealth move in, and they all get on the board and like, we should bring back wolves here, and it's illegal to shoot them. And then they start killing the farmers' dogs and cattle and stuff. And then the population of wolves has grown, and it's a real problem right now. Sharks are protected. They need to be in the ecosystem. I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the ecosystem, but at some point we got to understand that like maybe there's more of them now.
So are alligators.
Oh, that's a whole different
And you
thing.
fucked up my algorithm on my phone. Thomas took my phone one afternoon and just started scrolling through alligator attacks. So now every time I get on Instagram and I want to scroll through like, artists, musicians, horseback riding. No, I get to watch people's limbs getting torn off by alligators because of Thomas.
Dude, it's fucked up.
Yes.
Like,
it's disgusting.
I saw this guy's walking down.
There's so many.
This guy's walking down a golf course with his dog. This alligator wind sprints across, grabs a dog, and drags it back into the lake.
I know. I saw that one, Thomas.
It wasn't. Yeah, sorry about that. But it's just like
more heartbreaking, honestly.
Yes.
But the fact is, you can't shoot the alligator. They're endangered still.
I have no issue with that. Like, same with, like, keep the sharks protected. Like, look, there's a lot of people on this earth.
But
We also know sharks, like,
though.
the ocean, that's their territory. You are accepting the risk. When you go into the ocean, a shark might get you.
True. So you think you shouldn't be allowed to protect yourself without going to prison? That to me is where there's I'll show you the video.
Yeah,
the motherfucker
fisticuffs
went
the
sprinting
shark,
across the ninth hole of a golf course to grab Snoopy.
So we're talking about alligators
At
now.
that point, it's like if somebody broke into your house and started raping your wife, it's like, oh, he's in protected species. I can't do anything about it. I'm in his territory in this bad part of town. That's not a racist joke. Anyone can live in the bad part of town, by the way. The
I mean,
point
to be
is,
honest,
though,
like a alligator charging that quick, grabbing your dog and going, like, you're not gonna get a good shot off in that time, probably anyways. So it's just gonna be shooting holes into the green, and then the folks who run the golf course are gonna get mad. Your dog's still gonna be eaten. Honestly, just be thankful it took the dog, as horrible as that is to say, and not your ankle.
he says that, but if his dog got slurped by an alligator, he'll be there to the next day, alarmed to the fucking teeth.
That is true. I would be like Steve Irwin and hopping on that thing's back and like prying its mouth open. And then we just have two tragedies.
No, or a really cool story of how you killed an alligator with your bare hands. He gets that mama
And he
rage.
would get to spend the rest of his life in prison with that cool story.
It'd be a badass story. It's like, did you hear about the guy in the Air Force? Because, you know, they're the wusses in the military. He, like, broke a gator's jaw saving his dog. It's like, yeah, no one's going to fuck with that guy.
Yeah, true.
We just don't tell him the size of the alligator.
Yeah, a little baby one. One of those things you could just punt off the green as it's running up.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. Oh, okay.
Well, going back to the shark thing real quick, because this did pop into my mind. When you mentioned that it was bull sharks, and you can probably confirm this since you're the expert on sharks, isn't it with bull sharks that they're actually like just very curious? Like when humans say are in the water, and with a lot of bull shark attacks, what happens is they come up and they want to like figure out what you are, but they sense it like by nicking. And then when they nick you, it draws blood, and then that agitates them or almost like sends them into the frenzy. Or is that just some myth made up that I heard?
No, so that in some situations will happen. The fact is, so Forrest, the guy that's been on Joe Rogan 1,000 times, he's a really cool guy. He said like there's 5 animals on the planet that will 100% will like look at you and their food. He said number 1 is like Nile crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles. They literally look at humans as like part of the food chain. Tigers are a big one, lions. And he said like there are some shark species that if you're there, they'll eat you because they're sharks. And the way he said that on the show is like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, why are we like, they're sharks? He jumped into the water at night, prime feeding time. Bull sharks, if they attack, they're going to hit you in the hip. There's been over 300 documented cases of bull shark attacks. They hit you in the hip area, which has the main arteries.
Oh.
So if they hit you there, you're in trouble. Number 2, bull sharks drag you into deeper water. By nature. So they pull you away. And they like to get in, and that's the thing is if you saw that shark got it in front of him, they're really smart predators because I don't know, they haven't like evolved much in like a billion years, so they're pretty good at what they do. But anyway, if it was a bull shark, it's gonna come up, it's gonna hit him right there, and it's done. It's gonna take a couple of bites. It's completely different than like a tiger shark attack. A tiger shark attack is like what happened in Hawaii where that chick disappeared. However, it sounds like people are thinking that's actually a great white with how it hit. Because a tiger shark is just going to consume you right there and just eat you. And I can put the link if you guys are morbid enough. You can watch how a tiger shark feeds on a human body. A great white will literally just, you're gone. The person that happened in Australia, I sent you guys this last year. This is, by the way, guys, this is a completely different topic than what we're going to be talking about our ghost stories, by the way. Completely
I think
different.
you sent me like a shark attack video probably once a week the whole 2.5 years I was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So every day I'm going out in the ocean like, oh, I just saw that attack.
Dude, did you see that one, the guy kayaking, and this 14-foot tiger just hits his kayak, the mouth on that son of a bitch. Holy shit.
Almost got his leg.
You about the... Oh, go ahead, Carly.
Oh, almost got his leg.
Yeah, no. I told you about the encounter I had with one, right?
Tell it again. You punched it in the nose, right?
No, I ran like a bitch from there. Are you kidding? So, what else am I going to do? I'm not taking the shark on in its territory. I was surfing, and you know, I was on my belly, and I was paddling as a wave was coming in, and kind of looking over my shoulder as the wave's coming in to try and time it correctly. And as I look back, I see this little tiger shark in the wave. It was a good ways away, or it was the wave behind the one that I was about to catch. Um, I wasn't surfing like the 20-foot waves. I could see behind the one I was looking. It was a calm day, all right. I was just having a relaxing surf before people
Okay.
give me shit for surfing some like little 2-foot whitewater stuff. Anyway,
Good job,
so I
Whitey.
see him back there. I catch the wave, thankfully, the one that I was going for, and I just ride it
No
all the way
pressure.
in. Just ride it all the way into shore. Hop out, like, nope, fuck that. Kayla was on the beach, and she's like, she could see me kind of like running up on shore, like as I grabbed the board, not just leisurely strolling. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I saw a shark out there." And so we're looking at it, and we're watching this thing just like swimming back and forth in the waves. Other people on the beach are now watching it. It was like 4 or 5 feet, so
Big
not
enough.
a huge one, big enough to fuck me up if it wanted to.
That's
Um,
big enough.
so after probably about like an hour or so of just chilling on the beach, we hadn't seen it in a while. I was like, you know what? Let me go back out. The waves are starting to pick up a little bit. Paddle out. I'm out there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Sure enough, this thing, I look behind me again, is like 20 yards away, and I'm like, fuck this. Catch the next wave and just ride it in. And then I just went home. I was done for the day.
How
I'm not,
close did it? How close was it then? So you're talking like you're 60 feet away.
yeah, at closest, it was like somewhere around 15 to 20 yards.
God, that's
And that
gotta
was
look-
the second time that it kind of came up when I went back out.
Are you seeing its fin? How do you see it?
It's clear water.
Water is crystal clear. I'm looking at its face.
Oh.
Like it's coming
Jesus,
towards
God.
me. I see its face back there.
No.
You know what's creepy though is that's when you could see it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a chance it was already closer to you. Like, I've told the story ad nauseum when I tried to surf in Florida and something like came up to my board and I watched it go underneath me and I was like, I'm fucking done. I say it was 5 feet, maybe it was 4, but the fact it could be that big and get that. That's why I think stuff in the water scares me more than like if you're hunting in the woods, you're gonna see a bear, generally speaking, farther away.
You're gonna hear it.
You're not gonna have a 20-foot shark. A 20-foot shark will sneak up on you like 8 feet of water.
Well,
It's
it's because you
insane.
can't hear fish and stuff in the ocean.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like, but then a grizzly bear that's like 1,000 pounds can't creep. You're gonna see it a little bit beforehand. I feel like there's a distance, and predators on land, they want distance. Versus a shark, it'll come right up, bump you, and then go away before it hits you. It's so they don't have like personal space, whereas a lion or tiger would before it just mulches you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, with that said, we should probably get into our thing. So. Here's a huge change of topic because as I promised
is this spirits and ghost stories anymore? Or is this just like scary shit in the ocean?
Today I survived this. So guys, like I promised last time, we're doing campfires and 411 because of like the 4th of July weekend. I know it's a little late, but it's in the spirit of the summertime.
Well, yeah, it's like the time that everyone's going out in the woods and going on camping trips. It's the best time to tell the camp story, ghost stories.
It is. And we got some bangers today. And as always, when we do this, and we want to be serious, Carly will be reading the story, but then I'm going to be doing a little bit of background, and then Seth will be commenting. So we're going to be getting started here with so basically get a little history about the whole backstory of the 411. This guy's name is Paulides.
What?
Paulides. Starting out strong for this. So we're going to call him Palace. Mr. Palace is the individual that's behind the missing 411. His book publicized the fact that the U.S. National Park Service does not keep an independent list of people that go missing in the national parks. While there is a database for incidents and criminal reports, it is not widely or consistently used, and it doesn't interface with other criminal databases. In response, a petition was created to make the department accountable. So basically, this individual started to write books about different things that happen, missing persons in the national parks. And what he found out is the national parks, basically, the database that they kept was shitty, and it didn't cross-reference any other national base. This, to me, screams of like a college guy that doesn't clean his room very well. Could you imagine being in this office?
Or
It's
like
like the national
you.
park, like Seth, we lost another one. All right, just put it on the board. It's fine, whatever. And just like at the end of the day, you just crumple it up in the trash can. Fuck it, we
I
don't
really
care
want
about
to
him.
see if they have like one of those counters like they have sometimes in factories
A
or
clicker.
whatnot. Where well, no, it's like a counter that says the number of days since like an incident, and there's just some like park ranger who's constantly erasing it and putting a zero. Like, not again.
And I love this line, and this is what I found online, and I cross-referenced it with a couple of sources. This is the wording. Let's go over that slowly. While the national parks do have a database for incidents and criminal reports, it is not widely or consistently used. What the fuck? It's like, child got raped. Meh, is that important? I really got to go to lunch. It's just like, what does it mean, like, not widely or consistently used? It's like, that should be like the opposite of that. It should be widely and consistently used. That was written that way. So anyway, sorry, I just thought that was like hilariously funny. These people have not done their job. And it took him to do a documentary on Missing 401 for a petition to be signed to be like, hey, you should keep count of how many people die in your woods. Fine, we'll do that.
To be fair, they might have been really meticulous about it at the start. And then after like, a certain number, you're like, it doesn't matter anymore. Let's just chalk it up to one a day.
At one point, they had some high turnover, and not enough people got trained to carry on
The intern there,
training.
it's like, yeah, listen, we lose like 100,000 people a year. It's like Stalingrad. It's like, we just don't care anymore. It's like, should we find out what? Listen, they don't pay us enough to find out why.
They don't.
Do I
We're
need to
just
fill
here.
out paperwork? You won't be here long enough for it to matter.
Exactly.
Honestly, that's a good business model. Whoever's not going out, they're just raking it in. Doesn't have to pay his employees because they're constantly going missing.
Oh my God, it's just it's so good. So anyway, we'll get into more back history here. According to Palace, the cases he investigates have commonalities such as mysterious circumstances surrounding the disappearances, unusual behavior of the search dogs, the lack of tracking evidence, and the proximity to the bodies of water or boulder fields. He suggests that these cases may involve unexplained phenomenon and unidentified predators. So one interesting thing, and we'll get into this the first story that I'm going to cliff note here because it's the most, I think the one that stuck out in my mind, search dogs. That is one case that really happens a lot of these things. Is number one, the search dogs don't work. They can't sniff shit or something like that. Like the search dogs never work. Number
Because they can't
two,
smell them.
your clothes are usually not on the body if they find a body, but the clothes aren't torn off. They're just neatly not there. And number three, your body is like way off from where they searched. And in that area, the place was searched a couple of times, and they didn't find it at first, and then they go back and find it.
Right.
And
The
then,
same place they had already looked. Yeah.
And then like number 4 on it was something like they saw you, and then all of a sudden you disappeared. Like it wasn't like you were gone a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you turn around and you turn back, and then you're gone. It's worth mentioning that the Missing 411 books and Palace's research have received scrutiny and praise. Some people find the cases intriguing and believe that they highlight potential mysteries and dangers in the wilderness areas, while others argue that there is not enough evidence to support the claims made by the individual in question, Palace. Skeptics argue that the case may be explained by known factors such as weather conditions, human error, or simply the vast number of people who visit the park and wilderness each year.
Skeptics, let us have fun.
Well, I just like this is the part I like here is like, or simply a vast number of people. Listen, it's numbers, okay? If you have 6 million people going in the woods and 100,000 disappear mysteriously, it's no big deal. And it's like, wait, what? There's still like 100 people that went missing mysteriously. It's like, no, it's just like if you have a lot of people, some people just disappear. Poof. It's like that's not an explanation.
It just happens.
Yeah, that's not an explanation. It's volume, okay? And this kid's. And then, so the numbers vary, but basically there is close to 1,000 individuals that have mysteriously disappeared in all the national parks that we don't know of. Like ever since information was documented, and then each year there's
Is this across all national parks?
all national parks in the United States. And then on top of the 1,000 that have disappeared mysteriously, search and rescue are called every year for over 2,000 people every year in national parks.
2,000.
So 2,000 people are going to Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon thinking like they can eat that thing.
And never coming back.
Yeah.
I saw a video. Sorry, when you mentioned Yellowstone, it reminded me. I saw a video on social media recently of someone who was at Yellowstone National Park, and they like dropped something as they were getting really close to a hot spring, and it fell in to the hot spring, and they reached in to grab it, and then just like immediately started screaming, "Oh, it's hot!" It's like, no shit. Like, what are you doing? Was it really worth it? It wasn't anything important. It was probably like sunglasses or something.
Bill Burr
So
has a good.
honestly, that's probably why they're all like, yeah, people go missing. They're dumb. They
Because
do
they're
dumb shit in
idiots.
the national parks.
So basically, Seth is like, listen, all these people, let them die. People on cruise ships, let them die. And he starts talking, and then his voice gets more like dramatic. And uns weiß I.
I
All of a
know.
sudden, it's
I
like
just slowly turn into Thanos, and I get a gauntlet, and I snap.
Thanos, weird mustache. It's the same thing. They both had ideas.
But anyway, I would be curious because you say these numbers come from across all national parks across the United States. I want to see someone do a deeper dive and see if we can narrow it down to a couple parks and maybe look specifically at those.
Yeah.
There was a breakdown. And honestly, if I'm actually more prepared, guys, if you go back to our first Missing 411 episode, there's a link in the episode description to that exact article. But I'm a lazy piece of shit, and I didn't use that in today's research, so I'm being just honest. But then, if you want a little bit more here, we got this one. This one's from Green Matters. There's nothing more peaceful than detecting with a trip to any of the U.S. national parks. I know that sentence wasn't good.
What did you just say?
However, many of them have led to unfortunate disappearances. Yes, hiking is a fun, relaxing sport that can be safe if done right. But exploring the great outdoors can lead to a wide range of disasters. They really hyped the shit out of this one. From Yellowstone to the Grand Canyon, some of America's crown jewels are its main national parks. But there's a darker side to this unspoiled, stunning wilderness.
I just had this thought when you said like hiking can be a fun activity if you do it right. Yeah, because Mothman or Bigfoot's gonna care that I'm on the trail like it's some safety net they can't cross. Like there's some magical like barrier that damn it, I can't get him. He's on the trail. No, Mothman's gonna swoop down and grab my ass regardless if I'm on their pristine trail or not.
So this one has some fun data, which I don't know if this one's correct, but as previously mentioned, many think those numbers are much higher. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I just want to make sure I want to make sure I get all the facts correct. So I'm going to scoot back a little bit.
You're
so
out there,
between 1958 and 2021,
there were way back.
What?
Nothing.
Between 1958 and 2021, there was only 800 cold cases still open for missing individuals at the national parks. This is according to this article. Okay. According to the Trail and Summit, the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone make up over half those missing cases, with most having vanished from California's iconic Yosemite National Park. Wow. That's insane. But as previously mentioned, many think those numbers are much higher. Some think that more than 1,000 people on average go missing from the national parks or public lands every year. Vanish. So like that's just this article. And guys, as always, I'll link this in the episode description. Let me get to this. The NPS Search and Rescue SAR dashboard, however, shows how many people have been reported missing and how many have been reported dead. Data from the 2017 shows there were more than 3,453 reported missing persons and 182 deaths that year alone, which was 2017. So what's interesting about this is the fact that every article you go to has a different number, which kind of makes sense with when the national park's like, we just don't keep fucking records. So it does line up then, because it's like, oh yeah, they don't keep fucking records at the park, so no wonder everyone has new information, because it's like, fuck it, there's a lot of people, and it's keeping counts hard.
It's so much easier just to say people get lost in the woods. But I'm curious, you said the record spanned from like 1958 to 2021. Yeah. Was that just when the record started, or is that like a notable period they talk about? Because 50s, shortly after the nuclear bomb, when everyone talks about aliens coming.
The Tic Tac, baby. Like that's something else, because a lot of people think this is aliens, and this is going to be getting us into today's tale with our first little story. And this is really not a story yet, but this is like the one that was really prominent.
When do I get to read?
And this is Casey Hall Hathaway. Okay. In January 2019, a 3-year-old boy named Casey Hathaway, this is the one we watched on Missing 411, Casey Hathaway disappeared near his great-grandmother's home in rural North Carolina. Temperatures dropped below freezing, and rain blew sideways. 3 days later, the boy was found alive, entangled in briars, a quarter of a mile from where he went missing. How does a child travel 4,000 feet in elevation in his bare feet in 2 days? Losing a family member to the unknown is one of the worst psychological traumas a human can endure, says Paulus, a researcher and family therapist. She coined the term frozen grief for this mental anguish. The National Institute of Justice, the research arm of the Department of Justice, calls it the nation's silent mass disaster. In the majority of the states, a person isn't classified as legally dead unless they've been missing for 7 years. At that point, Bill Mann writes, they're declared dead unless there's evidence otherwise. Their death is absent, which for many survivors is even worse than finding the body. The brother of a bicyclist who went missing in Nova Scotia in 2014 says he's still haunted by not knowing what happened to his brother. I keep telling myself it would be easier if it was a heart attack or a car accident. At least I know that I was able to find a body. I had something to bury. It took 18 months, but Randy's finally had that closure. On August 10th, 2018, a team of biologists who venture into the mountains to study marmots, M-A-R-M-O-T, marmots?
M-A-R-M-O-T, a marmot.
Yeah, a marmot, stumbled upon Jacob's clothes in a remote area of the Olympic National Park. Rangers searched the area and found his skeletal remains 5,000 feet above sea level and 15 miles from where Jacob left his bike.
What?
15 miles.
15
While
miles?
the body was soon identified, it remains a mystery what happened to Jacob. The coroner called the official cause of death inconclusive. His boots were found wrapped in trash bags, which Jacob's brother, Mitch, wondered might be a sign of suicide. People do crazy things before they commit suicide, he said. Days after the remains were found, Randy, Mitch, and Bill Mann hiked up to the spot where Jacob perished, just to see where it happened. They stumbled upon 2 human bones, one of them finger bones, that they believed belonged to Jacob. Rather than bringing it to authorities, they had a burial on the mountain, vanishing across the tree limbs tied together with parachute cord. Randy may not have been responsible for finding his son, but he was on the right track with one detail. Most people lost in the mountains tend to go down, Billman writes, but Randy, instead, Jacob, he went up the mountain.
Interesting.
He couldn't explain why. I just got goosebumps. Fucking Christ. Jesus.
So
What?
instead
Oh
of
my
going
God.
down the mountain, he went
couldn't
up.
explain why. It was just a gut feeling. And in the end, he was right. Sometimes even the best statistics and search and rescue data can't complete with a parent's instincts. So that's interesting.
There are
So
always
the first
outliers.
There's always outliers, but what is interesting is there's 2 cases now where a person was someplace and they've completely they are found way the hell away with no bite marks, no scavenging. They're just dead.
Right, it's strange.
And
That's
I'm
really weird.
pretty sure a 3-year-old doesn't know how to commit suicide.
No.
So the fact he's not that depressed yet. Let him get a little bit longer in life. But the fact that he disappeared and he was up on the top of a mountain
Mm-hmm.
is creepy as hell.
Right. Right.
I think it's aliens.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think they probe you and they dump you off.
Yeah. They dump you off at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. So that gets us into today's tale. Carly,
It does.
take it away.
Only an hour in.
Yeah, after 2 hours of Shark Talk.
So, a quick little mention I'd like to say. I don't know if you guys have been in contact all day or if you know what Tom's whereabouts have been, but I cannot stop looking at his knee. And that would be because it's hairless.
Why is this the
He
segue?
spent the afternoon putting Nair hair remover on his legs. And look how naked his legs are. I can't stop looking at them. It's almost like he's just not clothed. Like he's naked.
You think you would have learned your lesson with that stuff after the first time.
That's what I'm saying. But he still bought more. I walk out of my office today into the bathroom and he's just there. His hands are covered in hair. Half of his body is covered. The whole house still smells like it. Look how naked his legs are. Can you tell?
Oh, I can tell now that I wasn't looking at his legs, but yeah,
Can't
that
stop.
is a baby smooth leg there.
You want to
got
add
Poppy.
context before people start thinking I'm batting for the other team now?
Can't stop. Okay, you can go ahead. You have
No, you start the story. It was impromptu. Just
Apparently,
attacking my body.
he's got some knee injury and he wants to put tape on his
He's like-
one knee. He wants to put tape on one knee. So what's he do? He nares the bottom half of his body. Yeah.
I know I was there, but my fact is, so wait, you thought it'd be better if I left one leg perfectly hairy and the other one not?
Or
You
just
thought
put-
at the gym that would look more efficient.
why not just put the tape on your knee without removing the hair?
Because when I'm around people in public, my family is psychotic and they like to walk up and tear shit off my leg because they like to see
You're
me in
never
pain.
around your family.
Plus, athletic tape sticks better and holds better when you don't have hair.
Why? Again, why not?
You can't just let me win anything, can
Why
you?
not
Really?
just
That's a
shave-
valid fucking
Why
point.
not just shave your knee?
You mean shave the angle of the tape?
I don't know.
I was just trying to be OCD a little bit, make sure they both look the same.
Can't
I was
stop.
taping the nape.
I cannot.
I'm pretty
stop.
sure I have Oshlotters right now. I pushed too hard trying to get to the 300-pound squat. I fucked up my knee a little bit. It's not really the knee, it's the patella tendon that inserts on the tibia. No! Just can we read the fucking story?
I want to feel it. Come here. I want to pet it.
This podcast is sponsored by Nair Hair Removal.
Lavender scented.
All right, so we read the story.
Okay. This story does not have a
If
name.
you smell lavender scented Nair in the woods, run.
Because they're coming for you. The whole bottom half of your body.
It's just Tommy running through the woods with the moonlight reflecting off his perfectly smooth, shiny knees.
One of his hands is hairless now.
It was
His
all
hand just like-
it was always hairless. My hands
No,
are
it
always...
wasn't. You used to have hair on your knuckles.
Wait, I did?
There's nothing.
I did have hair on my knuckles?
Yes, you did.
I didn't even realize that.
Honestly, rather than doing one leg, just do the whole body and tell people you're a swimmer.
There you
It's
go.
a lot better than when I did it the last time.
Yep.
Should we get into that story?
No,
we're
that's
gonna-
another Spirits and Ghost Stories. Just that's body horror. Go.
All right, prepare yourself. The
No,
name of the
restart,
story is
restart,
really
restart. We're
boring.
editing this.
Prepare yourself for the tale
Into the mic.
of report number 3. I told you, it's
Do it
really
again.
boring.
Do it again.
Hold on. No, hold on. We've been talking for an hour now. You've had an hour to come up with a creative title for this story.
I didn't even read the story yet. Just skimmed it.
What is this show?
It's
on.
a shit show, is what we call
Hold on,
it.
hold on, hold on. Prepare yourself for the tale of missing in Alaska. It might surprise you to learn that approximately 1 in every 617 people in Alaska goes missing annually. If that doesn't concern you, it should, especially if you reside in the state. There are many theories of who and what is responsible for the disappearances, but it would be foolish to attribute it to one culprit. Although the terrain is beautiful and peaceful, there are all sorts of risks that one agrees to when deciding to live in Alaska or even visit. Seth, this is for you. If it's not
I
the
see that
bears,
now.
if it's
I can
not
see why
the
this
bears
story was picked.
Hint, hint.
or other native carnivores that get you, it might be the It might be the blistering winters, or perhaps other things are lurking in the wilderness that most people don't know about, other than the ones unlucky enough to get a glimpse before they vanish from the public eye forever. My name is Marlene, and I genuinely
What's up?
wish I didn't have the following story to tell you. Not a day passes where I don't think about it, and discussing it isn't easy. But I feel warning others about unknown threats that lurk in the woods is the responsible thing to do, even if my recount somehow helps prevent just one other person from losing a friend or family member. Grinding through writing down the details is more than worth it, in my opinion. At least that way, some good can come from my best friend's disappearance. I grew up in a small Alaskan town called Ketchikan, a place where just over 8,000 residents and plenty of stunning views. My best friend Annie and I were in high school in the 80s when the unfortunate event occurred. We were freshmen, about to try out for the volleyball squad, and were determined to make varsity. There were rumors that the coach of the varsity team was interested in Annie, probably due to her taller stature. So I wanted to give it my all so that there was at least some chance we could be teammates. I knew we would be eventually anyway, but I wanted it to happen as early as possible since we had already spent so much time together. Everyone knew it was as rare as it got for freshmen to make it into varsity sports teams at our school, but we wanted to be as prepped as possible. About a month out, Annie and I started jogging through the woods after school and on the weekends. She had a perfect biking trail within walking distance of our house, which was seldom used due to its obscure location. I remember passing the trees and admiring their height, pondering how anything that tall had to have witnessed more history than any mammal in the area, including humans. From my point of view, one of the strangest things is how we had never encountered any frights before the day Annie disappeared. That trail had always felt so calm and welcoming, but that shows how disasters can occur at any time, teaching us that we should always make the most of the moments with those we care for. You never know when they'll no longer be a part of your life for reasons you can't control. I'm sure that Annie knew I greatly appreciated our friendship. Still, I would do anything to just see her one more time and tell her how much she meant to me. Honestly, I hadn't considered the extent of how much she added to my life, as I hadn't yet realized how much of an introvert I was. I had many friendly acquaintances, but only Annie filled a larger void. She was that person who naturally encouraged me to be my authentic self. I never had to worry about her judging me for any reason whatsoever. I find it so frustrating that we often don't know how much people mean to us until they're gone. It's as if there's no way around that. Aw. It was misty and
Very
drizzling.
touching.
I know.
Gay.
Seth, don't go on any trails. It was misty and drizzling on the day it happened, and the temperature was probably somewhere in the upper 50s to lower 60s. I distinctly remember us agreeing that that was our preferred jogging weather that day, when suddenly Annie uttered, "Who is that?" "Huh? Who are you talking about?" I asked, not seeing anyone up ahead. I soon realized that she was looking behind her. She must have heard something behind us, which caused her to glance over her shoulder. I can't begin to describe how confused I felt as soon as I checked the path behind us. It looked like a very skinny person wearing an all-black suit was walking towards us, but it didn't make any sense how they were catching up, even though they were merely walking. I'll never forget that visual. It's something you can't appreciate until you see it yourself. Some say it helps comfort them to read about times when others encountered similar things. However, I found it deeply disturbing. I'm not sure that has done anything for me other than trigger me to relive the nightmare. As I stated before, the only reason I decided to submit this story is so that others are more aware of what can happen while roaming in the woods. I was already so out of breath from jogging for a couple of miles, but I forced myself to speed up my pace, assuming Annie would do the same. She didn't. I had run maybe 70 yards before I turned around and saw my friend standing still. Not only was she not moving, but her eyes were entirely white. "What are you doing? Run!" I yelled at her, but she didn't say anything. From where I stood, it looked like her jaw and lips quivered, like she wanted to say something, but couldn't. "Annie, what's wrong with you? Please run!" But within an instant, the all-black figure stood directly behind her. Then there was an even stranger moment when both of them became blurry, appearing out of focus to my eyes. It looked like the all-black figure merged with her before the visual became too wavy to tell. Both of their bodies seemed to expand and retract several times without making any noise. I got the impression that Annie wanted to yell for help, but couldn't. Then, before I could say anything else, they vanished. "Oh my God," I screamed, wanting to drop to my knees, more scared than I had ever thought possible, but my adrenaline forced me to turn and continue running. I had no idea how to interpret what had just happened, but I somehow knew my friend was gone forever. With every
Jesus.
passing second, I worried the same thing would happen to me, but with some saving grace, I made it back to Annie's neighborhood. After spotting a few moving vehicles and a man walking his dog, I began to feel less isolated and therefore less at risk. I couldn't help but collapse onto my knees and cry. Within a split second, I transitioned from survival mode to venting mode. I was a mess, and I'm sure there must have been at least a few others who didn't want to get involved, observing me from behind their windows. I wasn't sure where they came from, but a couple kneeled beside me, appearing to be a husband and wife. The woman gently put her hand on my shoulder when asking if I needed help, which triggered me to scream. I suppose a part of me thought it could have been the kidnapper that had returned for me, causing me to freak out. Get away, I shouted as I jumped to my feet, but I apologized as soon as I saw the kind-looking pair. "It's okay. I just want to help," said the man. I feel bad for those two. They must have felt very disturbed by my state. After all, it's not often that residents of Ketchikan which witness that kind of behavior. Soon, a few other concerned people approached, inquiring how they could assist, and the police, along with an ambulance, arrived not long after that. It wasn't long before Annie's parents kneeled in front of me on the sidewalk near the patch of grass. It was so difficult seeing the tears streaming from her mother's eyes. Of course they knew something had happened to their daughter, but they didn't know what. Step by step, I somehow managed to explain what had occurred in those nearby woods. But Annie's mother seemed frustrated, refusing to accept the bizarre details. I already understood somehow that my story could be near impossible for most to comprehend, seeing as how I had the immense trouble, yet I was the one to witness it. If Annie had been with anyone else when it happened, her parents would have refused to believe it wasn't just some awful prank. They probably would have done whatever it took to convince themselves that something that strange couldn't have happened. However, they knew me well enough to know that I would never participate in antics like that. It just wasn't in my character. After that initial meeting with Annie's parents, police, and others, everything began to feel like even more of a blur. I would say that sensation lasted us a couple of months following the horrible event. Every morning I awoke hoping to hear that my friend had been found and rescued, but it never happened. Eventually, it progressed to the point where I subconsciously accepted that I, more than likely, would never see her again. One of the worst parts about the situation is that there's no public record of her disappearance, at least that I can find. Knowing what I know now, I wonder if the whole thing got swept under the rug for some strange reason. It's certainly mysterious, but to look at it through a different lens, maybe there are just too many disappearances in Alaska every year for the media to bother covering each one. I suppose you could say that vanishings are expected in my home state, and the residents are less fazed by it than in other places. Well, that's all I'd like to share. The rest is merely depressing details about interactions with other friends and family members. But I wish I could say that I saw Annie again, but I decided long ago that she'll forever be in my heart. And that was the tale of the disappearance in Alaska.
Thanks, Marlene. I mean, I'm sorry about your friend, but I guess it helps other folks.
It'll help you, Seth. No jogging in the woods.
So anyway, because we didn't tell the
Apparently.
crew this, we talked about my bare ass legs, but we didn't talk about Seth is going to Alaska for a bit. If you didn't catch on,
I am going to. I'm not going to catch a can. Was it?
Yeah.
Is that at the hometown? Yeah, no, I'm not going there. So hopefully I won't have run-ins with. It sounded like one of the Men in Black or like a tall white.
Yeah.
She said a really tall white or tall figure, skinny figure in a black suit. Like it sounds like a Men in Black sighting.
Yeah, it's catch a can.
And the fact that it just like came up to her and like merged
Just
or
whoop.
blurred with her.
that is kind of creepy.
Yeah,
Aliens.
It's definitely like an alien type happening.
That's got to be a good way to go, though.
She's probably living in a spaceship
Getting probed.
with Captain Kirk.
Yeah, let's hope that's
made
the
that
fate for Annie. Well, that poses a question. Tommy, if we're walking in the woods and I just stop moving and you see this like tall white figure that's little ways behind me, are you just going to run? Or are you at least going to try and run up and maybe firemen carry me away?
Has it gotten to you yet?
It hasn't gotten to me yet. Still a
Yeah, I'd
little
probably
ways
carry
back.
you for a while.
But his eyes are white.
Seth's eyes are white?
Yeah. Remember? In
I
the
mean,
story,
he
her
would just
eyes
think
were
I've
white.
gone fully blind at that point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Would
I
you
mean,
run
yeah,
up and
I mean
grab
that's
him?
no different than the way he is right now. So, yeah, I'd still carry him because worst case scenario, if the thing tries to get me, I could throw Seth at him.
That's how I was gonna say. That's how you could tell that Marlene was the faster friend. She got
Yeah.
away, and that's the important thing. Always be the fastest
Cardio.
friend, or at least not the slowest.
So,
So,
the big
going
big
to
takeaway is
Alaska,
cardio.
I feel pretty good. I should be all right.
I think that is the big takeaway for tonight.
Yeah.
That's a really good story. And then, yeah, we're going to continue. We have so many camping stories. If you guys really like this episode, and I'll know by the algorithm, we'll definitely do more of these. We will be returning in our next episode. Due to popular demand, we're going to be going back to Appalachia, and we're going to be talking about witchcraft. We're going to talk about more of like southern Appalachia witchcraft because there's specific areas of it because of somebody is really popular online right now. So we're
Is
going to go back to
popular
that.
the right word?
I'm popular for all the wrong reasons.
It's getting us the views at least. So there's a plus there, I guess.
That's true.
You're popular in that regard.
All comments are good comments.
Yeah, people hate you.
I know they do.
You want to explain to the camera what happened?
Apparently, I drank too much tequila and said some not nice things about Appalachians being
She's like, for the record, I don't remember.
unintelligent. But for the record, I don't remember what I said. But I'm pretty sure I did the air banjo.
There you go again. You're just doing
all
it.
I remember. But apparently I said something very nasty because I've gotten a lot of nasty comments about how mean I am.
Well, one of the comments did reference you saying the term hillbilly.
Hillbilly. But
we're going to have to watch that, honestly.
There are certainly worse words. So I'm surprised they're getting upset about that one.
Right. I think I might have said dumb hillbilly or something. Like illiterate hillbilly.
These are just words.
An illiterate. I don't know.
What the fuck?
That's probably what I said. I don't know.
So here you are. Your like most viewed video is about Appalachia, and you're just insulting the fan base from there.
Yep.
You're like Bill Burr in Philly.
Yeah.
That's actually a damn good point. I never thought about that. You're like, and fuck you, and fuck your teeth, and fuck your way of life.
I said that.
They were going. It's just
Play
so funny.
the tape back.
People get upset at me because I'm kind of like that guy from like Trailer Park Boys with the glasses. Like, okay, he's special needs. You can't get too mad at him. He's trying. You're the coherent, smart one. And when you're going dang, 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 dang,
or hear what they're mad about. You're saying illiterate. look who you're reading these stories with.
I know. My bad.
They're just
My
calling
bad.
you hypocrites.
In my defense, again, I don't remember what I said.
In my defense for the murder, I don't remember
I
killing
don't
her.
remember
Your
killing
Honor, I
anybody.
don't remember doing it. Oh, free to go.
It's like the guy with no legs. Like he was a runner, and then he got called up on like slaughter charges for he killed his girlfriend, and he shot his girlfriend through the door in South Africa. And his excuse was, "I didn't know. I just pointed the gun at the door and shot through it."
What does not having legs have anything to do with the story?
Because he was an
You
Olympic
started
athlete.
the story off with a runner with no legs. So
Yes,
he was
and
a
I'm
Paralympic
so
athlete.
confused.
Yeah, he was a Paralympic athlete, and he got like on murder charges for his girlfriend. I think he got out of it, or maybe he didn't. But his confession was, "I didn't know it was her." And
Wow.
apparently, somebody knocked on the door, and he just started like shooting at the person. And it's like, to my defense, Your Honor, I didn't know. It's like,
It's usually
it
not
was
the best
funnier
way
in
to
my head.
answer
Okay.
the door.
Anyway, with that said, guys, thank you so much, Seth, for coming back from us. It's been a year that we waited so long for your return, and hopefully we'll have you and maybe somebody else on the show as well, maybe this summer too. That's a little hint.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad it worked out this way so that I don't have to, be crammed next to Matt in a chair, bumping elbows with him
Bumping
constantly. Hopefully
And
this worked out.
I think it worked out extremely well. You are our first guest to be to be live stream scoped. Yeah. Speaking of hairy legs,
Jesus.
We'll see you guys next time on Spirits and Ghost Stories. Bye.